5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have commit and we have liftoff at 2:13. The Saturn V building up to 7.6 million pounds of thrust, and it has cleared the tower.
Everyone knows about the thousands of rocket launches that have occurred throughout American history. The 13 Apollo missions were perhaps the most famous of them all. But who is really behind these historical milestones? Well, yes, many names might come to mind. Who are some of the women that work behind the scenes to make all of these incredible events happen?
As we focus on the journeys of two specific African American women, we will be illustrating how they influenced history and what barriers were broken for them to do so.
You had a mission and you worked on it, and it was important to you to do your job.
That was an interview with Katherine Johnson from 9 years ago. She played an important role throughout NASA and American history. However, her life and journey are what prepared her for the road she would pave in the future.
On August 26, 1918, in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, a hero was born. Her name was Katherine Johnson, and she would later be known as a human computer. Katherine's two parents, Joshua and Joylette Coleman, taught her how important learning was. As Katherine once said, quote, "I had a very interesting childhood, but my education was the primary focus in our family," end quote.
However, in White Sulphur Springs, schooling for African Americans wasn't permitted past middle school. Her family had to split their time, living between two places. Institute was where Katherine was forced to go to high school, and White Sulphur Springs is where they lived. This did not set Katherine back.
She was still very bright. When she started high school and institute, she was only 10 and graduated at the incredible age of 14. Fortunately, she was still determined, because Johnson enrolled in West Virginia State College when she was only 16 years old. Johnson studied math and science, and many saw how much potential she had.
One of these people was W. Schifflin Clater, one of her professors. He knew how smart she was and was devoted to making math and science her reality. He told her he would make a great research mathematician, and carried out his words, even going as far as to create a whole new class for her.
Katherine was extremely grateful, and even said, quote, "Many professors tell you that you'd be good at this or that, but they don't always help you with that career path. Professor Clater made sure I was prepared to be a research mathematician," end quote. She graduated, and she had her first big accomplishment.
In 1957, the launch of the Soviet satellite Sputnik changed history and Katherine Johnson's life. In 1957, Johnson provided notes for a 1958 document, Notes on Space Technology, a series of lectures given to staff members in the Flight Research Division and the Pilotless Aircraft Research Division. She also helped with the orbital launch of John Glenn, who grew to respect her work, unlike a lot of other white men she worked with.
On one launch, he even refused to accept the math until he knew Katherine had checked the equations, saying, "If she says I'm good, I know I'm ready to go."
Johnson was a genius, but many didn't want to recognize her work. By 1960, no woman working at NASA was included in a report.
But Katherine slowly started to earn the respect and trust she deserved. As shown in this interview with WHRO Public Media, Katherine used her skills in math and science by her own terms, not letting segregation determine her opportunities and future.
When the space program came along, I just happened to be working with guys, and when they had briefings on it, I asked permission to go. And they said, "Well, the girls don't usually go." And I said, "Well, is there a law?"
Johnson will always be one of the most exponential and spontaneous women to walk this earth. She will be remembered forever as a key part of our history, and one that we would not have succeeded without.
On November 24, 2015, President Barack Obama awarded Katherine Johnson the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which, according to the White House archives, is the nation's highest civilian honor.
On January 6, 2016, a movie was released featuring Katherine Johnson's journey and highlighting the greatest achievements in her life.
Katherine Johnson passed away on February 24, 2020, but her legacy still lives on.
Many other young black women followed in her footsteps, including a special woman by the name of Mae Jemison.
All of science, all of space exploration, everything we do in the world is about imagination and using your creativity to expand beyond your normal boundary.
Mae Jemison was born in Alabama, 1956, but grew up in Chicago. Even when she was a little girl, she was inspired by the stars overhead and wondered what it would be like to go into space someday. Instead of just dreaming, Mae worked hard, even when people told her she shouldn't.
Her teachers and classmates would laugh when she spoke of her dreams as an astronaut, telling her she'd be better off as a nurse. Mae didn't care. She studied and knew everything she could about outer space.
At school, Jemison worked hard, and at 16, she graduated high school and attended Stanford University for biomedical engineering, where she was given many opportunities. She traveled to a Cambodian refugee camp, went on a study group to Cuba, and worked with flying doctors in East Africa. She never gave up on her dream of space exploration.
So, in 1987, she called NASA and applied to their space program. She expected them to laugh, maybe because she was young or because she was a black woman, but they never did. Her application was accepted, and on June 4, 1987, she was invited to work at NASA.
Jemison worked as an astronaut at NASA for 5 years, training to go into space until September 12, 1992, when she finally got into a space shuttle. Before she even went, Mae wanted to bring things to represent everyone who had been left out from society's accomplishments, since as a black woman, she herself had been until now.
I thought it was important to take to space with me things that represented people who sometimes are not included. So I took a poster of Judith Jamison performing the dance cry. I took up a Bundu statue, which was for the Women's Society in West Africa. I took up a flag for the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the oldest African American women's sorority in the United States, because they hadn't been included, and I thought that was an important thing to do.
From her window in Chicago, she had dreamed about this moment her entire life. As Mae stared down at her home, she waved to the family who had brought her to this wonderful moment.
For me, the experience was one that made me feel very connected with the universe. I felt that my being was as much a part of this universe as any star, as any comet.
Even after her flight, Jemison never stopped breaking barriers. She left NASA after serving as an astronaut for 6 more years, and then continued to advocate for equal opportunities among science in all fields. Jemison noted that society should recognize how much both women and other minority groups can contribute if given equal opportunity.
Mae took part in a lot of organizations and associations, a few being the American Medical Association, the American Chemical Society, and the American Association for the Advancement of Science.
Jemison's achievements never stopped. She won many awards, such as the 1988 Essence Science and Technology Award, in 1992 the Ebony Black Achievement Award, Montgomery Fellowship Award from Dartmouth College in 1993. In 1990 she was named Gamma Sigma Gamma Woman of the Year. A school in Detroit, Michigan, Mae Jemison Academy, was even named after her legacy.
Mae Jemison taught at Dartmouth College in 1993 and also created the Jemison Group. The Jemison Group is a company that seeks to research, develop, and market advanced technology. She was even asked to be on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Mae Jemison is now 63 years old. She currently lives in Houston, Texas, and is very wrapped up in her work, 100 Year Starship. Her goal with 100 Year Starship is to enable travel to other galaxies in 100 years or less.
Even now, she is breaking barriers by turning her project ideas into reality.
Mae Jemison and Katherine Johnson broke barriers by struggling through challenges and succeeding, giving minorities of the future the opportunities to do the same.
Though the boundaries these women surpassed may have been slightly different, Katherine Johnson making history within math and science, Mae Jemison, a monumental woman in space travel. They both made small dents in society's barriers, and it's our job to finish knocking those barriers down.
And as Mae Jemison once said,
"Never be limited by other people's limited imagination."